What happens in Vegas goes to Riyadh as I book all 21 matches for WrestleMania 43 weekend next. Like a roulette wheel on the Vegas Strip, around and around we go as it's time to see if we can hit green as I book all 21 matches over WrestleMania 43 weekend in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. For what it's worth, I correctly predicted Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre in this particular video 1 year ago, as well as the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal for what that's worth, which admittedly is not much. I also started to pick Dominic Mysterio versus Finn Balor in my post-SummerSlam booking video, and ended with 6 correct picks post-Royal Rumble. Truth be told, this is not just the hardest because I'm simply throwing darts a full year away from WrestleMania, but also because we have no injuries listed now that will surely free up some spots for the many deserving superstars on the roster. Also note that I'm not going to bank on a draft to switch things up, as Triple H is perhaps just averse to having a draft. So we'll just throw in a couple switches here, as they tend to do, rather than, guessing some wild changes to the rosters. So let's get it started with WrestleMania SmackDown, and I'm going to assume that it'll be a 3-hour SmackDown by that point. So we have 6 matches on the SmackDown card, even though the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was the last match a couple weeks ago. I'm going to have it start the show here, and I'm just going to say that Joe Hendry wins it this time. For the first standard match on SmackDown, it'll be a triple threat match between Alexa Bliss, Lash Legend, and Jordynne Grace. It is tough to leave them off the WrestleMania card, but SmackDown always gets the short end of the stick, which will be a recurring theme in these matches. Next, we'll go with a really solid one-on-one match between Ilya Dragunov and Ricky Saints. I really wanted to find a way to get them both onto the card, but I still just couldn't do it. The next women's match is just a one-on-one feud, and it'll be between Julia and Nia Jax, moving Julia over to the face side of the ledger. Our semi-main event for SmackDown would be a fatal 4-way for the WWE Tag Team titles. This one is really painful to be leaving Penta off of the main card following that IC title ladder match, but I hope teaming him with his Lucha brother in Rey Fenix will relieve that just a little bit. I'm also going to include Fraxium here, as well as the broken away from MFT team of Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga, and another really tough exclusion from the main card in the reformed Trick Mello gang. Yeah, I know, that's a bad one. I didn't want to leave them off, but maybe injuries will get them back later. But if those are hard, how about leaving out this Women's United States title match of Jade Cargill as the US champ versus Charlotte Flair? Yeah, I know this seems impossible, but everyone thought that there would be 5 or 6 women's matches on the main card for WrestleMania 42, and I was pretty much the only one that correctly predicted that there would only be 4 of them, so I will give them 5 on the main card for WrestleMania 43. And because it is in Saudi Arabia, they will surely point to this as proving that there has been so much progress going on, as this would be a record number of women's matches on the main card of WrestleMania, though WrestleMania 36 inside the Thunderdome had 5 of them if you count the unadvertised pre-show match between Natalya and Liv Morgan. Nonetheless, Jade versus Charlotte is the first miss as the 6th women's match, which we just have to exclude from the main card to give SmackDown a strong main event. But because it's just way too good for this spot, we'll make it a last woman standing match. So let's go to night 1 of WrestleMania 43 and start with one of those 5 women's matches, and this one is for the Women's World Championship. Naomi said that she would be right back to getting her title, and sure enough, she walks in as the champion, and she'll face her former bestie and the Royal Rumble winner in a very long anticipated return in Bianca Belair, and both of them will be pretty new mothers at that point, but I think we'll see a lot of bad blood between them. The United States Championship will be next, and this will be a tough one with Drew McIntyre still needing to be a Grand Slam champion, so he will have already attained that goal here and walk in as the champion. But 2 major foes await in our only triple threat match on the card, as Randy Orton and Royce Keys will be those two opponents in what will surely be a slobber knocker. We had a fatal 4-way women's tag team title match this year, and I think we're going to need to go right back to it, so I will go with Fatal Influence as the champions, as Jacy Jayne and Fallon Henley will represent them here. The Bella Twins will have turned on Paige and had a run with those tag titles, but this match here will be their final match of their careers. Speaking of Paige, after Bayley exits to go elsewhere, Lyra will be down in the dumps until she gets a new friend in Paige. And a perfect new pairing will be the Pretty in Pink team of Tiffany Stratton and Blake Monroe, once Blake gets Tiffy to adjust her attitude, of course. Up fourth is the Intercontinental title match, and there is nothing fancy here. Logan Paul has the Vision well stocked with gold, as he's now become the IC champion. And he'll face Jacob Fatu one-on-one. Fatu will have gone the whole year without a title after losing to Roman Reigns at Backlash, so his tribal chief, after he joins his side, will tell him to go get that title right here. Many thought that we were getting Gunther versus Rey Mysterio in a retirement match at WrestleMania 42, but Rey's got more in the tank and more to do after a few injuries have derailed him recently, so his career will be killed right here by Gunther, but just like we hope to get AJ Styles and TNA, that will only be a WWE retirement, and he will go to AAA for a final run that ends in Dom officially retiring him. Some of Roman Reigns' biggest enemies are now temporarily his friends, as they have a bigger cause to fight for than just the titles. An unlikely triumvirate of Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, and LA Knight will team up in a 6-man tag street fight to battle a now villainous trio of Solo Sikoa and Jimmy and Jey Uso. No yeet. But maybe the biggest upset is not having Cody Rhodes in a main event here. Well, I think that CM Punk tease a couple weeks ago ends up being a SummerSlam match, because I just don't think the WWE Universe is going to stand for another year-long Rhodes title run. So that takes us to the Night 1 main event, and it is the one that Saudi Arabia's been waiting for, because after losing to Drew McIntyre at the 2025 Royal Rumble, it's been a long road, including a heel turn for Sami Zayn. And now only upon the return of Kevin Owens to stun everyone and win that WWE title does Sami Zayn regain his focus and his heroic ways to go out and try to win his first undisputed WWE Championship after miraculously overcoming the odds inside the Elimination Chamber to once again get a shot at his biggest frenemy and possibly get his storybook ending. Night 2 will start with the World Heavyweight Championship match, and it will be a hoss fight between the champion Braun Breaker, as we now see that the Vision holds all the gold on Raw, as we now know that Paul Heyman was talking behind the scenes to The Rock on the phone leading into WrestleMania 42 and then throughout this entire cycle. But Breaker will be tested more than ever against Royal Rumble winner Oba Femi. And sure enough, the winner of this match just might prove to be the #1 guy for the next decade. Just like this year's men's Intercontinental title ladder match will give the women's Intercontinental title this year's ladder match. And Raquel Rodriguez will come in as the champion, but there's plenty of talent on the Raw roster, so we'll see a nice mix of veterans and young talent to put together an ultimate showdown with Becky Lynch, Asuka, Stephanie Valquer, Roxanne Perez, and Sol Ruca all battling it out for the title. I really wanted to put Becky in one of the top 2 title matches, but I have to say I like the matchups that I came up with just a bit better. But much like how Becky and Seth were heavily involved with AJ Lee and CM Punk this past cycle, let's do it again with Liv Morgan and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. And this long feud will culminate here with back-to-back cage matches, so that no one can interfere, of course. And we'll start with AJ versus Liv, and then right after that match, we'll flip it with the guys and have CM Punk versus Dominic Mysterio. Next, we'll get the World Tag Team Championships in just a standard tag match with the Vision again as champions, but in a different configuration because they're not going to hold those titles for a full year uninterrupted. Instead, it's now Big Bronson Reed and Austin Theory as the champions, and they'll face Javon Evans and his buddy from TNA, who is now a full-time WWE superstar, in Leon Slater. The semi-main event will be the WWE Women's Championship, and Rhea Ripley will hold onto the title for the entire year, and it looks like absolutely no one can beat her, but just maybe her best friend Io Sky, who hasn't seen her in almost a year. But Io will get her shot after a long, tough year by overcoming the odds to win the Elimination Chamber. Will she keep her undefeated record against Rhea, or will Rhea finally beat her toughest opponent? Just like this year, we're going to need a bit of a palate cleanser, and Danhausen will be the host of WrestleMania this time around, so he'll be interrupted by Chelsea Green and Matt Cardona, who have been tormenting him for weeks. Chelsea will kick things off here with a kick to the groin, which will ironically bring out someone ballsy as the TCB tank fires from the top of the ramp, and out comes Shotzi to make her grand return as the true indie god has finally arrived. And she'll immediately get to rekindle that rivalry against the false indie god in Cardona, and we get an impromptu mixed tag match that will be as full of chicanery and curses as you probably expect it would be. And in the main event, yes, I am going back to the well 1 year later with Roman Reigns versus the final boss, The Rock. We heard the rumors that Saudi Arabia will back up all the Brinks trucks to get The Rock for this WrestleMania, and at some point he's going to accept, as he needs just one last match to end his career. And there's just no better time as now, because I don't think they're going to be able to get Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, or even Brock Lesnar to come out of retirement for one more match, so they need to go all in on The Rock. So everything I said led to this, with Solo Sikoa obviously being on The Rock's side, and then the Usos flipping on Reigns to cost him the title well before this. And I want to say hopefully at SummerSlam. And with The Rock being the representative of the overbearing TKO that just keeps inserting themselves to make the product worse, that's how we get to that 6-man tag with Rhodes, Rollins, and Knight representing the people, with those 3 Bloodline members representing the corporation. So we get tribal combat here to prove who the High Chief will be, instead of just the Tribal Chief. When The Rock loses here, he'll also be forced to retire and leave TKO. We've got a full year to see how we get from Vegas to Riyadh, but here's to hoping we get such a stacked card with no injuries and a couple big returns that so many quality stars have to be stuck on SmackDown. But I've been stuck without any luck in getting more views on my long form videos, so I'm removing the recap videos in the form of Stop the 10 Count for now, and I'm just going to post a single weekly video. So to see those final Stop the 10 Counts, be sure to go right on over here for my review of both nights of WrestleMania. And it has been about a year, so I guess I need a new name. So I am the SportsZu, and this has been the SportsZu Wrestling Podcast.